Take a mind breath. Look at your world. Yesterday, I'd been working for a long time on trying to put together my new website about guided tours and a new way of doing guided tours. And my brain was just getting a bit fried, so I thought, well, I'll take a little walk. And it's something I do. I take what I call a mind breath because what I do, and it was only like 5, 10 minutes, just going around the garden. What I involve myself in really seeing and looking at the world around me and noticing as many things as I can. And one can then just change the track of your mind, and that's what it's about. So this is what I call my croquet lawn, but in fact it's not much good for croquet. But it's got a lovely lot of flowers in it that feed a lot of insects and things like that. And at the far end of the lawn, there's my big nettle and bramble patch, and that's quite important for all the butterflies and things that I have in my garden. So when you're walking around, and this can be anywhere, you will see nettles. Well, just have a look and see if you can see the evidence for those caterpillars. And nettles feed a lot of butterflies and moths and other insects. And so your peacocks, your red admirals, your tortoiseshells all feed on nettle, which is why I have a big patch of them and I get clouds of butterflies. I've got a big buddleia around the other side of the house and it just is covered in them at the times when the butterflies are flying. So it's interesting to just have a look. Oh yes, I can see that there's something going on there. I just glimpsed this butterfly. Very small butterfly, maybe 10-15 millimeters across, and I have not been able to identify it because it hid on the back side of that nettle leaf. And I think it might be some kind of blue. It acted that sort of way. They tend to flit around and disappear quite quick. And then on the right-hand side, there's a little moth, which is one of the mini moth sorts of things. And it's camouflaged as a bit of sort of bird poo. So it's a couple of things to spot there. Next thing I spotted was white-tailed bumblebee feeding on the privet, and that was nice to see, one of our commonest bumblebees. And then I've got in the edge of my veg patch what some people think of as weeds, and this is mullein, and you can see them roadsides and places like that, and they get pretty tall. They can get up to about 2 meters, I think. Anyway, the mullein does have these amazing moths that lay their eggs and then have their caterpillars on the mullein. And you will often see that the plant is a bit raggy because you've got all these the caterpillars on. And if you've got it at the right time, then you see these amazingly coloured caterpillars that are really not camouflaging themselves, but showing off the fact that they're pretty distasteful because of the things that they take out of the mullein plant. And the mullein has actually been used for many, many ages for things like the catarrh or coughs and stuff like that. It's a very useful organic medicine plant. I love this is in my teasels. I've got a big stack of teasels because the goldfinches absolutely love the seeds from them, and you get a lot of insects in there during the winter. And where the leaves come out together, you get this wonderful little environment, which is where water is collected. Obviously, there'll be different things that get their water from there. Then I went off to have a walk down the actual garden. On the right-hand side of the path there, you can see there's a cotoneaster that's sitting up there, and then there's a Himalayan honeysuckle. And I've got the honeysuckle in particular because the flowers are quite spectacular and are liked by insects. But in the autumn, when it's got berries on, I've noticed that the robin absolutely loves those berries and is always trying to get them. Anyway, I walked down towards the cotoneaster and I just, I was being quiet and I was just looking around. And there was a blob in the top of the cotoneaster. And I thought, what on earth is that? So I looked closely, and it was a little short-tailed bank vole. I think the short-tailed bank vole. Could be a bank vole, do tend to be more reddish brown, and this one is quite reddish brown. Quite difficult sometimes to tell between the two unless you see them quite close. He was up on the top there having a real good nibble. He'd just frozen, absolutely dead still. At first I thought, he's dead. And then I thought, how can that be? Anyway, so I was observing him and I took a photograph of him, and then I just moved a little bit to try and get the goosegrass out of the way, and he just flew straight down into the grass and stuff down below and disappeared. But that was a lovely moment. And then further down the garden, this is underneath my big pine trees, and these cones get up to the size of 2 hands together. You wouldn't want one dropping on your head. Now, whether they're being eaten above by squirrels and then drop down, or they drop down and then get eaten by squirrels and probably the mice and voles or whatever else there is. I've certainly seen in another wood where they've been eaten by badgers right down to the core. So they're obviously providing food for quite a few things. And then down by my little pond was a lovely, beautiful little hoverfly that had been hovering around. They quite like it where the pond is, where there's that water. Another bumblebee. This is the timber bumblebee, and they have big nests, and you see loads of them. I had one in the end of the house, and there would be 15 or 20 of them flying around there, and then suddenly the whole nest just disappears. They've come in from Europe. They've spread right across the whole country very swiftly in only a few years, and they're an interesting little bumblebee. I've also noticed that it seems to me that where they are nesting, they put off or attack or something the wasps, because where I used to have wasp nests, when I've had the bumblebee nest near there, and they seem to get going quite early on, the wasp nests disappear and they aren't there anymore. So another little thing. I nearly finished my walk now. And so I am just cheating because I didn't actually see a drinker, but I keep my eyes out for these because they're very common, but they're a lovely little caterpillar, hairy caterpillar, lives on grass. I think this one was probably headed off to chrysallize, go into the earth and make a pupa, because he was wandering around and he was quite big. And that's it. Just go around and see what you can find, and that is the mind breath. Completely forgot what I was doing before. Refreshed.